Nevertheless, freedom on the internet is not the same everywhere in the world. The following figures indicate this very clearly. In 1999, 95% of all host computers were located in Western industrialized countries. It is clear to see here that even in the virtual realm of the World Wide Web, a strong dependency upon the usual industrialized nations of the West prevails. We, as members of the free Western world, should be indeed proud of this. This figure also represents the economic potential and the development potentialities that liberal organized societies offer to their citizens. The digital divide still exists between the enlightened Western world and the nation whose people suffer from limited freedom in their daily lives. Access to the internet and thus access to information is not always granted and therefore distributed unequally, partly because the infrastructure necessary for the supply to large sections of the population is missing. Partly because many citizens, governments do not desire it. The digital divide is therefore synonymous with a knowledge gap. The information on offer is distributed unequally. In short, one can establish a clear link between the democracy of any country and the freedom of the internet. So those economically advanced democratic states where the internet is monitored, the least it is by the United States, Great Britain, Germany, Australia, the Western European countries at all, South Korea, Estonia, especially for a new 20 years old state. If one considers South America, following my humble assessment, as you probably have more exact figures here locally, Brazil appears to be the country where access to the internet remains the least controlled. That's you have better figures. You can give me a lesson during the discussion. On the other hand, the general public of Venezuela is merely provided with a considerably more restricted and controlled form of World Wide Web. Yet in both countries, the percentage of people who use the internet is just around 40. In comparison, in the US, the web is used by 78, and in UK, by 84% of the population. A statement by the president of Venezuela, Mr. Chavez, in March last year is exemplary. He is of the opinion that the internet could not be a free thing where you do and say whatever you want. States with strong military dictatorships are those in which there partly exists no internet access for the population at all. In the previously touched upon example of Myanmar, not even 1% of the population are able to use the internet. The local government regulates the internet by the means of heavy censorship, bans, and prohibitively high access costs. The installation costs there are priced at about $1,500, and this in a country where 32% of the population is earning less than the border of poverty. In the following countries, there are particular difficulties involved in obtaining access for the internet, or it is simply prohibited. Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, Cuba, China, and Tunisia. We have to register that so that our subject matter takes us above and beyond our own profession, media law. We are in fact moving out into the highly political debate on global human rights, as you mentioned before, Mr. Behrens. Politicians are justifiably fearful of such a fast yet difficult to control medium. It shifts the balance of power. The citizen feels it. He is alone at his laptop and yet simultaneously part of a large community of like-minded individuals. This strengthens the individual and paves the way for new forms of democratic participation. No wonder we lawyers have a lot on our plate. As the internet not only has an impact on political opinion forming and therefore on political structures, a myriad of problems also appear on a legal level. In the eyes of many, the World Wide Web is presented as a legal vacuum, a place that seems impossible to regulate and that can hardly be monitored. The sudden spike in criminality, whereby the medium of the internet is used to commit crimes, it's naturally far from desirable, to say the least. Global exchange signifies that borders are dissolving. National laws such as, for instance, copyright law or criminal law are not designed for the global challenges presented by the World Wide Web. Which national law applies and what standards actually apply? Globalization, a diverging society, and ethical perception and differing political structures complicate the consensus in dealing with the web. Political consensus has to be discussed and built so that legislation following truly international specifications follows suit. As I now turn to the legal challenges, I must posit two premises. First, the law follows reality. Second, reality is global and digital. Laws are national and analog. While the World Wide Web develops every day, each year new forms of communications arrive on the market by the social media platforms, press agencies, apps, blogs, or hybrid forms of television. Legislators follow suit with their rewriting and passing of laws. Every single, am I too quick for our interpreters? No? Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Every single question of media law raises many new issues at the same time. Anyway, we media lawyers always have a hard time because the laws very often made in pre-digital times. The certainly necessary reinterpretation and adaptation of legislation makes for stimulating, albeit exhausting work. The legislator's inertia is not the sole reason for this. Often a certain lack of intuition for the vehemence with which new technologies have an impact comes to the fore.